Aladari.
What's happening around the world
and what's happening here at home. Good evening and welcome to Prime Time News here on TV1. Bringing you the news, I'm Peruni Karunaratna.
And I'm Sandra Ferdinando. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Fostering an informed and civilized society, key to economic development in a nation, says President. Activists protest opposite CID demanding immediate arrest of ex-Health Minister Kehelia Rambukwalla. Sri Lanka drops 2 places in the latest Corruption Perceptions Index. Police fire tear gas to disperse a protest by Peradeniya University students. Shashindra Rajapaksa assumes duties as State Minister of Water Supply. 72 health trade unions to go on strike tomorrow.
Starting off with news here at home, President Ranil Wickremesinghe emphasized that the foundation of a nation's economy lies in fostering an enlightened and cultured society.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe presided over the inauguration of the new building complex at the University of Kelaniya Postgraduate Institute of Pali and Buddhist Studies. As a gesture of gratitude, President Ranil Wickremesinghe presented commemorative gifts to foreign donors who contributed to the construction of the new building complex.
This is a very old institution that had its own building, yet it was moved from place to place in Colombo. This institution was launched at Vidyalankara, and I recall the service of Venerable Avinapula Ratnasara Thera. I informed the Urban Development Minister and allocated the required lands to this institution. This institution is located next to the Computer Sciences Institute of the university. There is a link between the two. Many issues have arisen with the development in technology. Western countries engage in debates over these, citing control. We need to look at these from a religious perspective. We assumed the end was with the atomic bomb. However, if these are not controlled, it will be far worse than the atomic bomb.
The
occasion was graced by the presence of the Mahasangha, led by Kotte Sri Kalyani Samagri Mahasangha Sabha Anunayaka, Professor Venerable Rahula Anunayaka Thera of Kotapitiya, and other esteemed attendees included Minister of Education Dr. Susil Premajantha, Vice Chancellor of the University of Kelaniya, and other distinguished professors.
We requested the President for a plot of land for the construction of a hostel that will meet international standards. He said he would take steps to allocate the land. We appreciate his arrival to this place. If there needs to be a power devolution, universities should not be considered as uncleared zones. Everyone has a democratic right to it. Anyone, including the President and political leaders, are welcome at our university.
I
believe that the physical support that was given will be beneficial for the Buddhist education in the country.
The Students' Union of the University of Kelaniya launched another protest this afternoon against the President's visit to the university. The protest was launched opposite the university. They stressed that President Ranil Wickremesinghe has no right to visit the University of Kelaniya.
The Ranil Rajapaksa government imposed taxes and VAT and created an economic situation in which people are struggling to survive. Ranil Wickremesinghe is trying to put up a political show for the people from within the university system. He has no right to enter the university.
The group dispersed after protesting for around 1 hour. Sri Lanka police fired tear gas in order to disperse a protest organized by the Students' Union of the University of Peradeniya. Now, tear gas was fired close to the Peradeniya rest house.
The protest by the students of the Peradeniya University was organized against the rising cost of living and against suppression. The group attempted to march from the university premises to the Kandy town, and tear gas was fired at them at the Galaha junction. Thereafter, the university students protested at the location.
Moving on to another story that made it to the headlines. Sri Lanka slipped 2 places in the latest Corruption Perceptions Index released by Transparency International, ranking 115th out of 180 countries in 2023.
The Corruption Perceptions Index by Transparency International, which scores countries on a scale of 0, which is highly corrupt, to 100, which is very clean, paints a bleak picture of corruption worldwide. Sri Lanka has been ranked 115 alongside Ecuador, Indonesia, Malawi, the Philippines and Turkey. Denmark leads the Corruption Perceptions Index, followed by Finland, New Zealand, Norway and Singapore. Somalia, Venezuela, Syria, South Sudan and Yemen take the bottom spots in the index. Over 2/3 of nations scored below 50, showcasing pervasive issues with public sector corruption. Notably, the global average score remained stagnant at 43, with most countries experiencing zero progress or even setbacks in the past decade. Transparency International highlighted global trend of weakening justice systems is reducing accountability for public officials, which allows corruption to thrive.
The Colombo Chief Magistrates Court heard the case against Kehelia Rambukbella filed by the Bribery Commission. The charges stem from an alleged incident during his tenure as Minister of Media, where State Printing Corporation funds were reportedly used to settle his personal telephone bill.
Now, Rambukbella's defense presented initial objections to the indictment, and Colombo Chief High Court Judge Damit Totawatta postponed issuing an order on these objections until the 16th of February.
Minister Kehelia Rambukbella and former State Printing Corporation Chairman Jayampathy Bandara Heenkenda have been charged by the Bribery Commission under the Bribery Act over the alleged misuse of public funds. In a display of public outrage, civil organizations launched a satyagraha today outside the Criminal Investigation Department, demanding the immediate arrest of former Health Minister Kehelia Rambukbella over his alleged involvement in the recent pharmaceutical scandal. Protesters were urging the authorities to deliver justice. Sanjay Mahavatta blocked the entrance of the CID and engaged in a protest. The police opposed this move.
This was filed on the 30th of November. We came here early morning yesterday with President's Counsel Maitri Gunaratna. He asked to meet the director of the CID. The director is afraid to meet us. He is afraid that we will ask what happened to the complaint we filed. Tomorrow is the court date. We now have this drug scam and rituximab scam. If this is done today, there will be a huge issue. However, we are not afraid.
Later, Sanjay Mahawatta was granted the opportunity to enter the CID premises.
According to a complaint filed by our organization with the Criminal Investigation Department regarding the hemoglobin fraud, a case has been filed today in the Maliga Kanda court and currently 7 suspects have been arrested. But despite all the evidence, former Health Minister Keheliya Rambukwalla is the mastermind behind this. Instead of arresting him, the Criminal Investigation Department is ignoring it entirely. There was an attempt to intentionally kill over 25,000 people in the country by administering substandard human immunoglobulin as a cancer treatment. This group attempted to commit genocide in the country by letting diseases such as HIV and hepatitis spread among the people. We hope at least now those responsible for these murders and the economic downfall will be brought to justice. The immunoglobulin scandal is not a regular scandal. This is a scandal which unveiled thousands of scams and the technical mafia within the mechanism of the health service. We did not see more than one of these people being captured. Is this company a sole proprietorship? There is one name in the tender. That person has not even been questioned so far. We know very well that within Sri Lanka's constitutional system, written evidence is lost through the absence of a formal system for a minister to give orders to a secretary. We need to know the former health minister's involvement in the human immunoglobulin scandal and if he received any orders from above, who gave him the orders.
10 people who were protesting opposite the Criminal Investigation Department were arrested. Police spokesman DIG Nihal Thalduwa said that among the arrested are 8 men and 2 women. In the midst of the ongoing legal challenges surrounding the bribery commission case, Minister Keheliya Rambukwalla offered an explanation for his absence at a scheduled Criminal Investigation Department meeting today. Rambukwalla stated that he was required to attend court proceedings related to a separate case in the Colombo High Court. He also said that he had a scheduled meeting at the President's Secretariat to participate in the Public Expenditure Management Ministerial Subcommittee.
Newly appointed State Minister for Irrigation and Water Supply, Shashindra Rajapaksa, declared that it is wrong to join groups for political purposes. He was speaking after taking oaths in the presence of the President earlier in the day as a new State Minister. Shashindra Rajapaksa was sworn in as the State Minister of Irrigation and Water Resources Management in the presence of President Ranil Wickremesinghe this morning. Shashindra Rajapaksa assumed duties at the Ministry of Water Supply and Estate Infrastructure Development located in Palavatta, Battaramulla this afternoon.
The late Sanat Nishanta, who faced an untimely demise, had planned many projects for this ministry and hoped to implement many relief projects for the people of the country over the next 2 years. We hope to continue those activities as planned.
ඒ බලාපොරොත්තු වුණු සියලුම කටයුතු ඒ ආකාරයෙන්ම ඉදිරියට කරගෙන යන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
අපි දැක්ක ඊයේ දිනේ හිටපු ජනාධිපති මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මහත්මයා ප්‍රකාශ කරා මේ තැන්වල විවිධ සන්දාන නිර්මාණය වෙන එක අභියෝගයක් නැහැ කියලා තමයි එතුමා ප්‍රකාශ කරේ. මොකද්ද ඔබතුමාලගේ දේශපාලන වැඩපිළිවෙල?
විශේෂයෙන්ම පසුපෙළ മന്ത്രിවරුන් එහෙම කණ්ඩායම් ගැහෙනවා. ඒ අයගේ ඉල්ලීම්
The backbenchers form such groups. They have demands, and when those demands are not met, they form groups. It is not a challenge. We also have a duty and responsibility as public representatives. I think it is wrong to form groups for narrow political agendas when fulfilling those responsibilities.
මේදී පටු දේශපාලන අරමුණු තකා කණ්ඩායම් ගතවීම වැරදි කියලා තමයි මම දකින්නේ.
In the backdrop of the highly anticipated 2024 presidential election, a dynamic shift is observable in the political landscape, bringing forth the emergence of novel alliances. What is the status of the mandate that was obtained at the 2020 elections? Newsfirst takes a look.
The 2020 Sri Lankan parliamentary general election saw a decisive victory for the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, which secured 145 of the 225 seats, solidifying its position as the dominant party. The Samagi Jana Balawegya emerged as the main opposition with 54 seats, while Ilangai Thamil Arasukachi emerged as the third strongest voice, winning 10 seats. The Jatika Jana Balawegya also gained a noteworthy foothold with 3 seats, and the Elam People's Democratic Party secured 2 seats. 10 other parties shared the remaining seats as 1 each. What has happened now? The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, despite its 145-seat victory in the 2020 election, has broken apart into multiple factions. A considerable number of its MPs have left the party at various points, citing various reasons. The Uttara Lanka Sabagaya, a political alliance led by Wimal Weerawansa, includes 12 MPs from the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. Additionally, the coalition has gained the support of the Ape Janabala party through the inclusion of its national list MP position. A dissident group from the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, led by Dalasalaha Peruma, formed the Freedom People's Congress. This new group comprises 13 MPs who joined the SLPP. Maithripala Sirisena, Dasiri Jayasekara, Shan Vijayalal and Dushmanta Mitrapala, who are from the Sri Lanka Freedom Party and were elected to Parliament under the banner of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, now serve in the opposition. Shan Vijayalal is now with the Samagi Jana Balawegya. The former sports minister, who recently announced their candidacy for the upcoming presidential election, opened a campaign office in Nugegoda yesterday. The event was attended by 4 other members of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, who represent the Freedom People's Congress. Amidst the political landscape in 2024, the 11 MPs who broke away from the SLPP in 2022 are now making waves in various parties and a new alliance. Initially declaring their independent stance in 2022, these MPs, including Anura Priyadarshana Yapa, have since formed alliances and joined other parties, showcasing a shift in the political landscape. The Alliance for a New Economic Journey is joined by Minister Nalin Fernando and Dr. Susil Premajantha, Anura Priyadarshana Yapa and Nimal Lanza. The Samagi Jana Balawegya, that contested under the symbol of the telephone, had 54 seats in Parliament. However, a group from within altered their political course. MPs Harin Fernando and Manusha Nanayakkara, as well as MP Vadivel Suresh, now work alongside the President. Partly Champika Ranawaka, who was also elected to Parliament from the SJB, now acts as an independent MP. The Ilangai Thamil Arasukachi contested under the symbol of the House and secured 10 seats. However, only 6 MPs are working with them. 4 of its MPs parted ways to form the Democratic Tamil National Alliance.
Sri Lanka's political landscape has been more active than usual in recent weeks, from the formation of new alliances to the shifting of allegiances. Today, Chairman of the Samagi Jana Balawegya, Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca, commented on the new members who joined the party recently.
පහුගිය දින දෙක ඇතුළත සමාජ මාධ්‍ය ජාලාවල රූපවාහිනී නාලිකාවල ගියා අර දයාරත්නායක කිය.
Over the 2 days since he joined, there has been a lot of publicity on social media and mass media regarding former Army Commander Daya Ratnayaka joining the Samagi Jana Balawegya. The Samagi Jana Balawegya is a party that was formed through many sacrifices. It does not belong to 1 or 2 people. Therefore, we cannot allow the party to be destroyed due to the arbitrary decisions of certain people. Daya Ratnayaka is not a person who should be a part of the SJB. This only shows how shameless he is. If he intends to engage in politics on the same stage as me, that itself is an issue. We have a great disgust. We cannot sit at the same table as them. we cannot get onto a stage with them. Simply, we cannot do politics with them. Therefore, I have been very critical in my comments to the party leader and the General Secretary over this decision. Even this morning, the party secretary called me and asked me to let that person be because they are unable to remove him from the party. I refused that and said such people should not be given party membership. A party should follow a policy and should function in a respectable way according to these policies. We can only work with people who have an untainted past and a good reputation. We do not condone the act of enlisting this person as a member of the party. He has been brought in by a former politician from Colombo who lost the election. Will they leave the party eventually? We do not know because he has entered our party after being left helpless once Gotabaya was ousted. Even our supporters must know to reject such decisions because this causes an inconvenience to us as well. We cannot work in unison. That is a massive blow to the party's progress. Not only me. We saw how people like Harsha De Silva, Iran Vikramaratne and Kabir Hashim were in a certain fix recently. They spoke about it during media briefings as well. That was due to a certain statement made by a person who was given party membership. That is unhealthy for the party. If everyone is accepted by the party, then even Gotabaya can be taken into the party. Similar to how Daya Ratnayaka was accepted because he is a war hero. There were only minor similarities between them behavior-wise. If this continues, Cabral might also be taken into the party claiming he's a genius. If we are accepting people who should rightfully be discarded, then there is an issue.
එහෙම ගියොත් 30ක් කල් ගිහලා හොඳ අතිශේෂඥයෙක් කියලා කබ්‍රාල් ගන්නත් පුළුවන්. එහෙම වැඩ කරන්න බෑ. ඒකට කුණුබක් කීවලට දාන්න ඕන මිනිස්සු අපි ගෙනෙල්ලා වාඩි කරගන්නවා නම්. අපේ ප්‍රධාන පෙළේ පුටු වල වාඩි වෙන්න දෙනවා නම්. එහෙමනම් ඒකේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා.
Journalists quizzed the chairman if the SJB's protest held yesterday was successful.
රැලියට සහභාගීත්වයක් තිබ්බ හුඟක්.
There was a good turnout for the rally, but there was a noticeable absence of certain supporters from several electorates. The people's woes are increasing each day. I believe there was a crowd of around 7,000 to 8,000 people. That did not end up as neither a revolution nor a protest. They were having a bath. I would have organized it more methodically if I was in charge.
The Supreme Court of Sri Lanka ordered to schedule the petitions that were filed challenging the appointment of Deshabandhu Tendakon to the post of Acting Inspector General of Police to the 27th of February for consideration. The applications seek an interim order restraining Tendakon from accepting the post of IGP and was taken up in the presence of a 3-judge bench comprising Justices S. Thurai Raja, Gamini Amarasekara and Mahinda Samewardana.
The bench advised that all objections over the applications, if any, must be filed with the Supreme Court before the 22nd of February. The petitions filed by various parties, including Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjith, argue that Tennakon's appointment violates fundamental rights guaranteed by the Sri Lankan Constitution. President's Counsel Salia Piris, Shamil Pereira and Upul Kumara Peruma represented the petitioners, while President's Counsel Romesh De Silva appeared for Tennakon. Deshabandhu Tennakon, the Attorney General and the Constitutional Council led by Speaker Mahinda Pabewardena were named as respondents in the petitions. In a separate development, the court also took up another petition challenging Tennakon's appointment, filed by former parliamentarian Mujibur Rahman. The application was taken up in the presence of Justices Priyantha Jayawardena, AHMD Nawaz and Shiran Gunaratna. The bench scheduled a hearing for the 7th of February.
The Supreme Court of Sri Lanka conducted the 4th day of hearing on the petitions filed against the anti-terrorism bill that was submitted by the government to the parliament.
The hearing of the petitions filed against the anti-terrorism bill was presided over by Chief Justice Jayanta Jayasuriya and Justices Vijit Malalgoda, AHMD Nawaz, Shiran Gunaratna and Arjun Obesekara. The Attorney General has been named as the respondent in the petitions. So far, approximately 31 petitions have been filed with the Supreme Court demanding that certain clauses of the anti-terrorism bill termed as unconstitutional. His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjith, Samagya Jana Balawegaya General Secretary Ranjith Madhuma Bandara, Jatika Jana Balawegaya Member of Parliament Vijitha Herath, Sri Lanka Muslim Congress General Secretary Nizam Karyapar, Centre for Policy Alternatives, Socialist Youth Union, Frontline Socialist Party Secretary Duminda Nagamua, Sri Lanka Working Journalists Association, Ceylon Teachers Union and others filed these applications with the Supreme Court challenging the anti-terrorism bill.
We have been making submissions with regards to the anti-terror bill which has been tabled in Parliament. What we have been telling court, several councils have been telling court, is that we had the Prevention of Terrorism Act for over 4 decades and there were several abuses which happened under this draconian legislation, and this legislation is supposed to correct the issues when it comes to the Prevention of Terrorism Act. But there are provisions including giving rights to the military to arrest civilians, curtailing the rights of journalists, detention orders in so many different ways, confessions in so many different ways, and essentially creating a permanent state of emergency in a democratic country like Sri Lanka. And that is what the ATA anti-terror bill seeks to establish in a country like Sri Lanka. So we are completely opposed to it, and we have presented our arguments to the Supreme Court, and what we are hoping is that the Supreme Court will give a judgment which is in favor of the people of this country, and we are hoping that if the Parliament is going to pass such a legislation, it would be compelled to send such a legislation to a referendum.
Activist Piyath Nikeshla was granted bail by the Colombo Fort Chief Magistrate today.
Activist Piyath Nikeshla was granted bail by the Colombo Fort Chief Magistrate after being arrested by the Computer Crime Investigation Unit of the Criminal Investigation Department on the 29th of January. Nikeshla faced charges under the Computer Crimes Act for allegedly violating public order, creating public dissatisfaction with the government and posting videos with the intention of provoking the public. After considering the facts presented in court today, the Chief Magistrate ordered to release Nikeshla on a personal bail of 500,000 rupees.
We urge the CID not to waste time with such matters. It is inappropriate. This person simply published somebody else's content on YouTube. There's no need for this person to go into hiding. Therefore, we urge them to cease such action.
News First with the people.
News First. Main sponsor.
Study in Australia with Edlocate. Visit us on 10th February at the Hotel Galadari.
The Crown.
Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Shanker urged Indian citizens to visit Sri Lanka during their next vacation, emphasizing the strong ties between the two nations and India's unwavering support during Sri Lanka's recent economic woes. Speaking at an event at IIM Mumbai, Dr. Shanker painted a vivid picture of the crisis Sri Lanka faced and India's impactful response.
My first advice to you would be, the next time you want to take a holiday, go to Sri Lanka. You know, I'm serious. Please go to Sri Lanka. I say this to all of you. Mix with the normal person in Sri Lanka and ask them, what do you think about India? And I can tell you, you will feel yourself grow with that answer. That for the average Sri Lankan, when the world had turned its back on Sri Lanka, when they could not get, you know, I have myself been in Colombo, and there was a petrol shortage. People were pushing their cars to the petrol bunk to get petrol and fuel up. And there were queues of kilometers doing this. The country was running out of food. It couldn't get essential commodities. Now, at a time when the rest of the world turned its back on Sri Lanka, the only country which came forward, and came forward not in a small way, we actually committed $4.5 billion to Sri Lanka. And just to give you a reference point, they negotiated for a long time with IMF, which, by the way, should have been where the help should have come from. And that IMF package was less than $3 billion. So what we did immediately, quickly, efficiently was 50% bigger than what the IMF did. And no other country came close. So I think this idea that, somewhere neighbors are turning against us, we are failing. We need to have more confidence in ourselves. Now, having said that, there are two realities which we also must recognize. China is also a neighboring country, and in many ways will, as part of competitive politics, influence these countries. I don't think we should be scared of China. I think we should say, okay, global politics is a competitive game. You do your best, I will do my best. So, it cannot be. Today, China is a major economy. It will deploy resources. It will try and shape things in China's way. Why should we expect otherwise? But the answer to that is not to complain that China is doing it. Answer is, okay, if you are doing it, let me do better than you.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa says that the unnecessary expenses incurred on tear gas and rubber bullets should be given to the country's education.
Tear gas and water cannons were unleashed on us yesterday at the protest. They must have spent so much money on these tear gas and water cannons. Why can't they use this money on developing the education system instead? So, I would like to draw the attention of the President and the government to kindly look into the problems of the 10,126 schools in this country instead of carrying out tear gas attacks and instituting state terrorism. Look into the human rights of the 4.1 million students. If there are only 3 computers for the entire 753 students of the school, that means the government is violating the human rights of these students. This government is very talented in cracking down on dissent using state violence and brutality on all 365 days. Through our journey, we will ensure that free education is reinforced and strengthened.
Minister Harin Fernando, speaking at the Presidential Media Centre, commented on the SJB protest that took place in Colombo yesterday.
A group went home after experiencing tear gas. Do you believe that they arrived to topple the government? They tried to reduce the number of tourists visiting the country. That is what they got aired on media. Some channels carried breaking news as well. They showed the opposition leader covering his head with a cloth. It was like a prisoner covering his face when being escorted. I wonder why he did that. This is all carried on breaking news. They try to portray devastation in the country. The Samagi Jana Balawegaya says that it will institute individual legal action against the police officers involved in firing tear gas and water cannons at the SJB protest in Colombo yesterday.
අපි හැමෝම ගියේ විහාර මහදේවියක ළඟ තමයි අපිට පහර දීම් වලට අපි ලක් වුණේ.
We were attacked close to Vihara Mahadevi. Our attempts were to protest from the PD Sirisena grounds and Hyde Park. Both these grounds were booked by us. We have to march and we did not engage in any violent act. They blocked the road and were forced to proceed to Vihara Mahadevi and we were attacked there. The party intelligence has identified all those in the police who were involved in this attack. We have photos and videos. We will file action against them personally for violating our fundamental rights.
The Sri Lankan government is preparing to proceed with a new mechanism for paddy purchasing. Let's now cross over to the newsroom to find out more.
Well, now the Sri Lankan government has decided to bypass the paddy marketing board for paddy purchasing during this Maha season in Sri Lanka. Now the Maha season is also known as the greater season, where a majority of Sri Lanka's rice harvest is reaped from across the island. Now, what the government is trying to do is to award concessionary loan schemes to small and medium rice mill owners and also to rice warehouse keepers or rice stockists as they are known in order to purchase paddy during this Maha season. Now, what is going on here? Let's have a look.
The government has decided to implement a loan scheme through public and private banks under a concessional interest rate for the purchase of paddy. Accordingly, the funds will be allocated based on the average Maha season paddy production of each district during the last 5 years. Loans of 9 billion rupees are expected to be issued under the proposed loan scheme to small and medium-scale rice mill owners and rice stockists. The Agriculture Minister earlier noted that insufficient stocks maintained by the Paddy Marketing Board resulted in a shortage of rice and a price hike.
We failed to introduce a mechanism to control the price of rice. If we had 10 billion rupees, we will be able to control the mill owners. The profit from a kilogram of rice is high, but it doesn't go to the farmers or the consumer.
In Kilinochchi, local farmers are raising concerns about the Sri Lankan Rice Marketing Board's alleged refusal to purchase their produce. This lack of official participation, they claim, has created an exploitative environment for public traders to capitalize on vulnerable farmers.
We have a reduced harvest this time around. We hope the government will provide us with some sort of relief. However, we do not have faith in that. We believe that they would purchase paddy at a reasonable price. However, now they want the private mills to purchase paddy. If that happens, we will not get a reasonable price. The government has paved the way for private mill owners to purchase paddy at a price that they desire.
While the government is following a dual perspective with regard to the purchase of rice and while the next season's paddy is being harvested and crops are ripening in some provinces, today a revelation was made with regard to attempts to import rice.
Crops are being harvested in areas including the north and east. At the same time, Ponni Samba stocks are being unloaded from ships. When they started, we said it will be a blow to farmers. There is a massive paddy harvest this season. 3 million metric tons of paddy is expected this Maha season, which gives around 2 million metric tons of rice. Now the 3 to 4 big businessmen in the oligopoly are filling up their silo. The government is saying it doesn't have funds to purchase paddy. It said Sirasa did not return the 20 billion given to Sirasa and the treasury hasn't given 4 billion. And the government is unable to buy paddy from farmers if they did not receive those funds. If the government can't buy at least 5 to 10% of the paddy, what will happen? The big businessmen will be able to reduce paddy prices as they wish, stock the paddy in silos and increase rice prices again. The only solution is the Shakti Rice campaign. According to the current situation, what is the government's mechanism to purchase paddy from the farmers?
එකම පිළිතුර තියෙන්නේ ශක්ති සහල් ව්‍යාපාරය. දැන් තියෙන තත්ත්වය අනුව මොකද්ද ආණ්ඩුවේ ගොවියා කැපෙන වීටික ගන්න තියෙන මෙකැනිසම් එක මොකද්ද?
Healthcare professionals in Sri Lanka are set to go on strike from 6:30 a.m. tomorrow.
The strike involves members of 72 healthcare professions who are demanding that 35,000 rupee allowance given to doctors be extended to them as well. The Alliance of Health Trade Unions has issued a stark ultimatum to the Sri Lankan health authorities, warning of a nationwide strike set to begin tomorrow morning unless their demands are addressed. The latest World Economic Outlook update by the International Monetary Fund says that the world economy is expected to grow at a modest 3.1% in 2024 and 3.2% in 2025.
Global growth is projected at 3.1% in 2024 and 3.2% in 2025, with the 2024 forecast 0.2 percentage points higher than that in the October 2023 World Economic Outlook on account of greater than expected resilience in the United States and several large emerging market and developing economies, as well as fiscal support in China. The IMF said global headline inflation is expected to fall to 5.8% in 2024 and to 4.4% in 2025, with the 2025 forecast revised down.
Staying on the path toward a soft landing will not be easy. The biggest challenge ahead of us is to tackle elevated fiscal risks. Most countries came out of the pandemic and energy crisis with higher public debt levels and higher borrowing costs. Bringing down public debt and deficits will help deal with future shocks. The most pressing risk is that countries do too little, too late. In that case, fiscal fragilities will build up until the risk of a fiscal crisis forces sudden and disruptive adjustments at great cost. In some countries, there is also a risk of doing too much, too soon, and this could jeopardize growth prospects. It would also make it much harder to address imminent fiscal challenges, such as the climate transition. What is needed is to implement a steady fiscal consolidation, with a non-trivial first installment combined with an improved and well-enforced fiscal framework. So future consolidation efforts are both sizable and credible. The opportunity should not be wasted. Emerging markets have been very resilient, with stronger than expected growth and stable external balances, partly due to improved monetary and fiscal frameworks.
EDEX Expo will return once again this year, empowering Sri Lankan youth with education, innovation and sustainability.
EDEX Expo 2024 will take place from the 9th to 11th of February at the Sri Lanka Exhibition and Convention Centre in Colombo and on the 17th and 18th of February at the Kandy City Centre. Among the various activities at the EDEX Expo 2024, a significant focus will be on Sri Lanka's first ever climate clock, a monumental installation by EDEX Think Green, the sustainability arm of the EDEX initiative. Sirasa TV is the electronic media partner of EDEX Expo 2024.
An event aimed at promoting diversity and inclusion among corporates in Sri Lanka was held in Colombo yesterday.
The Ignite Inclusion Initiative, organised by Catalyst Sri Lanka, was held in Colombo on the 30th of January, offering corporates a fresh perspective to rethink, revisit, evolve and reinforce established processes addressing diversity and inclusion within their organisations. Ignite Inclusion Initiative aims to obtain key developments and findings on diversity and inclusion made in the education sector and to infuse them with the activities of the corporate sector through tailor-made training programs. Executives of many leading organizations in Sri Lanka's corporate sphere, industry leaders, heads of state institutions and members of the clergy were present at this event.
Former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan and his wife were sentenced to 14 years in jail after being found guilty of graft in a case involving gifts he received while premier.
Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan and his wife Bushra Bibi have been sentenced to 14 years in jail in a case related to the illegal selling of state gifts. The verdict, a week before national elections, comes a day after Khan was given a prison sentence of 10 years in a case related to leaking state secrets. It was not immediately clear if Khan's sentences were to run consecutively or concurrently, following a trial held inside the jail where he has been detained for much of the time since his arrest in August. The pair married in 2018, months before Khan was elected Prime Minister. About 127 million Pakistanis are eligible to vote on election day next Thursday, with Khan and PTI at the centre of debate despite being squeezed out of the limelight. The ballot has already been marred by allegations of rigging, with Khan barred from running over a previous graft conviction and his party subject to a massive crackdown. Since being ousted in 2022, Khan has been worried by court cases he claims have been triggered to prevent his return to office after a campaign of defiance against Pakistan's military kingmakers. Khan has accused the powerful military with whom he ruled in partnership for much of his tenure of orchestrating his ouster in a US-backed conspiracy.
Farmers' unions, unimpressed by concessions offered by President Emmanuel Macron's government, encouraged their members to fight on for improved pay, less red tape and protection from foreign competition.
Police said 18 people were arrested for obstructing traffic near Ranjis, which the government had warned farmers to stay away from. Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin said police stood ready to defend strategic spots and larger cities. Despite the warning, a convoy of tractors that started in the French southwest resumed its drive towards Rangis after spending the night on farms along the way. The French Interior Minister said there were 10,000 protesting farmers on French roads, blocking 100 spots along major roads.
And with that, we wrap up Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Take care and good night.